Hey, what's up? It's Guy.
It's John.
You found our YouTube channel. Subscribe to the channel. Make sure that you get a little alert every time we do a new video, and give this video a like.
Also, check out our podcast. It's below in the description. Haberman, Middlecoff, same as the YouTube channel, different content.
All right. We got a little alert on Tuesday, John. Trade pending physical. Actually, the first thing that happened was there was this, the Gronk would come back to play with the Bucs. And then, boom, he's going to have a physical. And then, boom, right after Schefter tweeted this, like less than an hour later, Gronk passed the physical. And he was officially back with the Tampa Bay Bucs.
PFT commenters, do you see PFT commenters? Dog, a couple weeks ago, had tweeted the Gronk was mulling a comeback. Leroy's been wrong before, so I didn't put much stock into it. But you're right. This story avalanched within a 20-minute stretch of Gronk be interested to boom. He's taking a physical boom. The trade's through. I saw a lot of reaction when the trade initially happened was like, oh, stole Gronk for a fourth. It's like, guys, he was just retired for a year. He weighed like 210 pounds. He'd been wrestling in the WWE. And when he had retired, he hadn't quite been the same guy that last year. Again, no one that follows football doesn't think Gronk's not, especially at our age range, if you're under 40, the best tight end you've ever seen. But given the wear and tear on his body, he looked like Barry Bonds, remember, with the big elbow brace? But he had one on his elbow. He had one on his knee. He was like a walking cast.
Then he looked like Barry Bonds, the cyclist.
Exactly. Then this year he looked fantastic and skinny. And now I just saw on Twitter he's been putting some weight back on. I'm not anti the move. It's a no-brainer if you're the Bucs, but
it's also a no-brainer if you're the Pats. A fourth-round pick.
Yeah, I saw it. I mean, a guy that just retired on him, they got a fourth-round pick for. So yeah, it's the easiest deal the Pats will ever make. They don't want him back. He wouldn't want to play for them because he wouldn't. And they got a free fourth-round pick for a guy that was never going to play for them again.
So what I just put up with the stats through 2016, right? And 2016, he plays 8 games. What you don't see there is then the next 2 years. And the question is, do you get the 2017 guy that played 14 games, had 69 catches, of course he did, and 8 touchdowns? Or do you get the guy that played in 2018, which he played in 13 games and made 11 starts, which it feels like he played in 4 games. But, of course, he made a big catch in the Super Bowl. He had 47 catches his last year in the NFL, 3 touchdowns.
Remember, he was more like a blocking tight end that year? He was just, they were putting on the line of scrimmage. Yeah. Now he did.
He's like a decoy.
He did arguably make one of the biggest plays in that Super Bowl when he caught the thing down the seam.
To set up the touchdown.
No one's acting like he's just shot, but I also think a lot of people are acting like they're getting prime Gronk, which is just not the case. I think there's just a huge element of unknown as the player. Them acquiring the player is what do they get out of this guy. Now, the intangible stuff, having him with Tom, getting him around the other teammates to kind of be a bridge, no one would argue his value, right, to what he's going to mean to the Bucs.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I do think there's a debate about what his value is going to be, and we'll get into how it changes the NFC. But like you said,
you said if he caught 45 catches this year, I mean, would you put the over-under at 40, at like 50? I'd take the under, wouldn't you?
Yeah, to me, the question is not does he have like 47, 45 catches. It's is he healthy enough that when the playoffs roll around and the Bucs are in it, that you have to worry about the fact that Gronk is there, right? Like, is he – to me, the difference – there are 2 types of 47-catch seasons. There's the one where you're always a threat and the one where you're just mostly a decoy. And so the pure volume number, especially because this is a talented team, right? There's other guys that throw the ball. You can throw the ball to Mike Evans.
Yeah. Chris Godwin's a stud.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, now Gronk in January, John, said he was 15 pounds below his playing weight. In January, he said he weighed 250. This is what he looks like now per his Instagram. Oh, wait, that's not what he looks like now. This is what
LeBron, assist to himself.
I'm going to eyeball and say about in the 240s.
So he's got some time to put on some weight. He said, I guess a few months ago, it's only going to take him a few weeks to get back. I think the first thing with this, it's just that it's an awesome story. Like, forget about how many catches he's going to have. Can we just enjoy the fact that Gronk is back and he's playing with Brady? The guy, he said, I would only play with Brady, and now he's playing with Brady.
I put a lot more merit too into the fact when someone goes, it doesn't take me that long to put on some weight. It's like, yeah, we've all lived in quarantine. I agree with you. It doesn't. If you want to hit the kitchen, it's pretty easy to put on weight. I think it's kind of cool, just how, like Rice and Montana, they're synonymous with each other, but also Rice and Young are synonymous with each other. Rice was then played with Rich Gannon. Randy Moss played with how many different quarterbacks? Like Rob Gronkowski is just in bed with Tom in terms of as a player. Like, this is my guy. I'm not playing with anyone else. I'll either retire. You try to trade me to the Lions. I'm out. That's my guy. And then Tom comes back to Tampa. I'm fucking there. I think their relationship is just one of the cooler. I mean, we're seeing this MJ docs going on with Scotty and Michael. Like, they have kind of this unique bond that probably even a little stronger. It's not like Edelman's like demanding a trade right now. Edelman's like, yeah, I'm a Patriot, whatever. Tom's his guy. Welker left him. Now, that wasn't Tom's,
At last check,
choice,
Edelman unfollowed him on Instagram.
Unfollow Tom or Gronk?
But I feel like it's all just a scam for attention.
Is there a small percentage chance Jules ends up in Tampa, or probably that's unrealistic?
Yeah.
Belichick cuts him like going into the season, or
trades
trade?
Him.
Yeah. Just
do a full rebuild, and we'll get stuff. We know that like when Kentavious Caldwell-Pope got $18 million out of the Lakers. Like, maybe Bill can just get a little more value out of the Bucs just because, he's essentially team Tampa Bay. So
I mean, Tom, that's not quite as stupid as Taco Tuesday, but it's pretty dumb. Do you think that when they had their initial conversations at the Combine, whenever, in January, Tom and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Gronkowski was part of it?
Yeah.
Like, how long do you think it became till Rob?
Yeah. Because Rosenhaus said last year that he thought he wouldn't be surprised if last year, if Tom called him up and said, Gronk, we need you for a few games, that Gronk would come back. And that was in the cold when Gronk was less healthy, presumably, than he is right now. So less rested, at least. So, yeah, I got to think that there was absolutely at least hey, yes, Gronk would be interested. Or they said, do you think Gronk would be interested? And he said yes. Or he said to Gronk, and Gronk was like, well, if you go to Chicago, that's a little cold, but Tampa, I'm all in. I mean, it really is the perfect place.
I feel like there is going to be a large percentage of the PGA Tour golfers that all live in Florida. Like, I mean, Tiger is going to be on the sidelines of a Tampa Bay. Like, Tampa's just went from, now, Tom, they didn't need Gronk, but to me, Gronk immediately makes them a little like NBA team-ish, right? Like, they are the sexy team. I think we talk about in the playoffs. I had him as a borderline lock playoff team well before Gronk. He doesn't really change that much from my thinking, but they went 7-9 last year with a quarterback that threw 30 picks, and Tom rarely throws 7 picks. So you add now Gronk, I think that immediately helps the other offensive players get on the same page as Tom. The skill guys, right? Mike, Evans, Godwin, whether they choose to keep O.J. Howard, who could get traded any moment, but Cameron Brate, Rojo, just playmakers kind of just all kind of talk the same language while they're getting yelled at by the coaches and the quarterback, that I think he is just a huge bridge. Now, Tom is not going to come in like Tom Brady 2 years ago in New England, having his standards aren't going to change, but just going Michael Jordan and eviscerating everyone when they fuck up, because they're starting at scratch. But like, he ain't going to just allow mistakes to happen forever. And I think having Rob around, you could argue that they would have had to acquire some guy that Tom has a lot of, experience with, even if it wasn't Gronkowski, like go find a Chris Hogan or something just for training camp, just to have that guy around. This is obviously the perfect. Him or Edelman are the ideal guys, right?
Somebody, who Tom can yell at. Not that Tom needs a whipping boy, right? But the Tom
and who's
could
famous.
be famous, is good, can be a bridge between Tom and the other guys that play that position, receivers and tight ends. So, yeah. So you mentioned it, but let's get into it. This is the NFC standings from last year. There's 7 playoff spots this season, 1 additional. Does Gronk change the NFC? To your point, John, even without him, we thought Tampa was going to be a new playoff team. But here's 10 teams, 7 of which are going to make the playoffs. Well, maybe not 7 of this group. Maybe there's somebody else sneaks up. But The Eagles, the Cowboys, the Packers, the Vikings, the Bears, the Saints, the Bucs, the Niners, the Seahawks, the Rams. That's 10, and I'm leaving people out. Like somebody might argue, well, the Falcons are going to whatever.
Atlanta did have a good second
you
half.
could argue
and they
Atlanta
might trade up in the draft.
So, but the point is just those. Like, if the Eagles miss the playoffs, that's a big deal to them. If the Cowboys miss the playoffs again, that's a big deal to them. If the Vikings or the Packers miss the playoffs, that's a big deal to them. If the Rams miss the playoffs again, like all those teams I just mentioned, it is a failure. The Bears, it is a failure if any of those 10 teams for them doesn't make the playoffs.
How many teams in the NFC do you not even hesitate to go, they're better than Tampa Bay right now? And the other curveball for Tampa, because when you say Tampa, you're like, it's Tampa Bay? It's kind of weird to say. They have Bruce fucking Arians, who had established himself before he ever showed up at the Buccaneers as a top 6-7 coach in the NFL, right? Like I love Matt Nagy, but Arians has done more. I like Matt LaFleur, but Arians has done more. I like, you'd say McCarthy and Doug have accomplished more. Zimmer, I think if you gave every general manager the choice, they'd probably lean Arians. Now, those guys are pretty similar, right? Winning coaches, one's offense, one's defense. You'd say Pete Carroll has done more. Kyle, as a head coach, has not done more. I guess he made it to the Super Bowl, and Arians has never made it to the Super Bowl as a head coach. But, I think Arians, a lot of people would view him as like a much older version of a Kyle type. Like, Arians is an elite coach, right? So I would say on a short list of the Niners, Seattle, and Saints are the three teams I feel confident saying, like right now, are just better than Tampa. Then the Eagles, Cowboys, are kind of my wild cards. But I think Tampa's just pretty good. And if you just put Tampa on a neutral field with these other teams, I mean, they're going to have a shot.
Yeah, see, that's the thing now, because only one team gets a bye. So once we get to the playoffs, if Gronk's healthy, if Tampa's just had a solid year, I mean, you're going to have, even if there are teams that you think right now you can say comfortably are better than the Bucs, that doesn't mean that when one of them's playing the Bucs in the playoffs, you'll just say the Bucs can't win this game. I don't think there would be a matchup.
What if the 2-7 is like Seattle or the Niners at 12-4 versus the Bucs at 10-6 because they got a bunch of 10-win teams in the tiebreaker or whatever? You'd be like, well, that's a fucking
Brady.
tough game.
Right? I mean, now what does Brady look like? It's hard to predict that right now.
But you'd agree if they went 10-6 or even 9-7 or in that range, he'd probably look pretty solid most of the time.
I feel like they're winning 10 games.
Yeah, the Saints are really good. Yeah, I do too. Their coaching staff's really good. Todd Bowles, that defense should be really good. There's pressure on them to get the draft right, but offensively, skill-wise, they're as good as anybody. I mean, Chris Godwin and Mike Evans is a better tandem than the Niners receiving core or the Seattle's receiving core, or even who would you rather have, Mike Evans and Emmanuel Sanders or those two? I think, Mike Evans is great, but I take the next two guys over Emmanuel Sanders. The Eagles, I mean, fuck, they're dying for a wide receiver. Yeah, I mean, you take Amari Cooper and Gallup over, like those two guys are elite.
Amari and Emmanuel.
And they already have Amari and Emmanuel.
Sanders, yeah.
Well, yeah, if they played together, I'd take those two guys over them, but they don't. So I think Tampa. I don't think this changes the NFC in the sense of like they're now a playoff team because I already viewed them as one. Now, does this help them get on the same page and just Tom be in a good place? They are immediately one of the America's 5 or 6 getting primetime games.
Which is so weird,
like they're
right?
a big
for
deal.
The Bucs to be that, but it's true.
They're a big deal, right?
The other thing that we don't know yet, and this is like big picture. So Gronk's on a 1-year, $9 million contract. Gronk turns 31 on May 14th. It'll be interesting when we look back. Did Gronk come back for a year, or did Gronk come back and play the last 3 years of Brady's career with him, right? 31 is not – I mean, 31, that's young.
He's never very old at all. Never very old at all.
So
I think we think about Gronk like
It's LeBron. Assist to himself.
Still looks good. Richard Sherman was just an all-pro at 31 years old. I think sometimes we say these names because they've been in our vernacular now for almost a decade that we're like, Gronk's, he's over the hill. Well, in football sense, sometimes though, when you are 31, you're weathered like a professional athlete.
I don't think he's played 16 games since his second year in the league.
I don't think they're going to need him to. Like, to me, if they get 10 out of him and they get him for the playoffs, that's for $9 million.
Yeah, I mean, I would say 10.
They're paying $40 million for Tom and Gronk.
Yeah. John, I would say 10.
It's a lot of money.
10 to me, it's not. I don't need him to play 16, but does 10 mean that he's got like a back injury that keeps him out 3 games?
Yeah,
that's
you're right.
a problem.
There's a big difference between 13, 14, and 10, right? Because 2-3 games, 4 games is a quarter of a season. So if I get 14 out of him, he misses. I give him a rest game in October and another one week 16 or 17. Okay, you're right. You miss 16, so you miss 2 weeks in October, and then you miss a month. You're right. That's 10's not good enough.
All right,
but that's he's been
well,
that before.
Yeah. Well, if that's what he is
take.
again, then he's probably not going to be a major impact player.
Yeah. Yo soy fiesta.
Who's going to play the Chiefs in the Super Bowl? That's something for us to find out later. But for now, like the video. We appreciate that. And, the comments too, John.
Yeah, comment below. We'll respond.